Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Giraffe Cake Pop tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous little giraffe cake pop. Tools and equipment that we will be using today: I have some scissors, I have 2 paintbrushes, I have a lollipop stick, or I have 2 there, I have a couple of toothpicks, I've got my pre-rolled cake pop ball ready to go. Now if you don't have a great recipe for getting your cake pop balls to this stage, we do have a good tutorial on our channel and I will leave a link to that in the description box below. I've got some melted yellow chocolate, I've got some melted orange chocolate. You can either tint a little bit of white chocolate with some powder colour or colour paste, or you can use candy melts. I've got some mini marshmallows, so little baking mellows, and I've got those ones in pink, a pretzel stick, some black, just food colour, and some orange M&Ms. Let's get started. Now the first thing we want to do is prepare our giraffe's ears. So we're going to take those scissors and one of those little marshmallows, and you want to cut it across on a diagonal. So when you cut it across, you're going to get these 2 great little ear shapes, and these little inside bits are going to make the actual inside pink of the ears. You want to do this first so they've got adequate time to dry. So I'm going to hold it by the flat side, which is going to be the bottom, and I'm going to dip it into that yellow chocolate, and I'm just going to dip it so that the yellow comes all the way around the fronts to that nice little pink split. So you should have something that looks like that. Place it face down on the table and that can dry while we make the rest of our giraffe. Alright, while our ears are sitting there, I've got my cake pop ball. Now this is not as firm. This one here has been pre-shaped and refrigerated just for the speed of the tutorial. So you want your ball just in a nice ball shape as it was, and we're going to so from the ball, we're just going to rock it in the palm just a little bit. Now with the giraffe, you don't want his nose to be too pointy, so just make sure that it's quite a fat nose, and we're really just shaping this into a bit of a big strawberry shape. You can see there, that's going to be your giraffe's head. So as I mentioned, I've refrigerated this one. You should pop that one into the fridge for about 15 minutes so it's really firm before we start decorating and dipping. Now with your giraffe head, you want to take that pretzel stick, and I'm just going to snap off about that much, so about 1.5 centimeters in our measurements. And it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly even. Dip the bottom of those pretzel sticks into a little bit of that melted yellow chocolate, and we're just going to push them into that cake pop ball. In about the middle of the head is great. And if you do notice, you can see there just a little crack in the cake pop. If you do notice anything like that appearing whenever you put something into your cake pop balls, just run that chocolate down just to seal it up, because that will actually lead to cracking in your cake pop once it's finished if you're not careful. So if you see any little cracks appearing, just blend that chocolate in. And that one can sit waiting for our stick. Now with the stick, we could just do the giraffe's head here, but at My Cupcake Addiction we do like to go a little bit over the top. So I'm going to take the whole stick and I'm just going to dip it right into that bowl. So it's quite a deep bowl, and this is going to form our giraffe's neck. So you can see there we've actually come quite a ways down the stick. Now, taking your giraffe's head, we're going to insert our candy stick or our lollipop stick into the bottom of his head about 1 centimeter of the way, like so. And if you do find that your chocolate bunches up, just take a toothpick and just push it down the stick. So you're really just evening it out. And don't worry if this is not incredibly neat, because we're going to be putting spots and M&Ms and such all over it. So you're not going to notice if it's not absolutely perfect. Once you're happy with the length of your giraffe's neck, you can just run your finger around the bottom and wipe off any excess. Now, while that's drying, so we're allowing our seal to set in the bottom of the giraffe's head, you want to take your M&Ms, and this does require a little bit of balancing, and just balance them on the back of the neck here. So don't go all the way up to the base of the giraffe's head, because you do want to leave a little bit of room for when we actually dip his head in the yellow chocolate. And holding him like so, we're just going to balance those M&Ms, and you will have to hold them on there for a couple of minutes just until that chocolate starts to set, and then you'll know they're safe and they're going to stay in place. Alright, so my giraffe's completely set. I actually ended up putting him in the freezer for a few minutes just to make sure this is really set. Because we're going to be tapping off excess chocolate, you don't want any of those mini M&Ms to fall off. So you want to take your giraffe, just be mindful of how long his little horns are going to be, so you do need to make sure you've got a nice deep container, and we're just going to dip him. Just be careful when you're meeting that chocolate up that you don't go over those orange M&Ms. So give him a nice good coating. And we've lost a horn. That may happen. If it does, all is not lost. We've got a spare. So I'm just going to continue tapping off that chocolate. Make sure that you're turning him front to back, front to back. I'm going to dip this second horn into some of that melted chocolate, and I'm just going to stick it into that hole. Now while that one's still quite wet, we're going to just dip that side to give it a nice coating. Alright, all is not lost. So just keep on tapping across, make sure that you've got a nice even coating. Alright, now if you do have any chocolate that's come around under his chin against that neck, just run your finger around and just make sure that you're evening it up. And if you do have a little bit of a messy nose, don't worry about that. We're going to be colouring that in anyway. So taking your mini M&Ms again, you want to just continue his little, I guess it's his little mane, his M&M mane, up the back of his head. And you do want to do this while the chocolate's still wet, so. Alright, so you should have something that looks like this. He's got his little M&M mane on, he's got his little horns in. Now taking your little ears, they should be pretty well set by now, and you should have something that looks like this. So you've got the yellow on the outside and the pink on the inside, and if you can, while that chocolate's still wet, just attach them. If you can't, if your chocolate has already started to dry, just put a little dab of that melted yellow chocolate where you want the ears to go and attach them using that method. So you can see here our giraffe is really starting to take shape. Now we're going to let that completely dry before we go on and paint on the finer details. Alright, so my giraffe is now completely set and it's time to start doing the detailing. I like to start with his nose, and I'm going to use a paintbrush rather than dipping for this because I like the nose to have a little bit of a hairy effect, and I want to have a lot of control as to where the orange candy melt or the orange chocolate goes. So just taking your paintbrush, just dip it in the orange, and we're just going to paint like a circle around his nose. And then it's time to move on to our giraffe spots, or they're not really spots, they're kind of odd shapes. So with the giraffe's shapes, we're going to do them mainly on his neck, and they're kind of skew-if triangles, I guess. They all sort of meet up in the middle, or meet up on their edges. So you can see there I've got one triangle, not really triangles, it's sort of hard to explain the actual shape, offset rectangles. If you love this tutorial, make sure that you head on over to our channel MyCupcakeAddiction, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from us. We upload several times a week and we'd love to have you stop by. Now you can also see here, this is a great opportunity to cover up any messes that you've made. So if you've got any little bits on the neck or anything you're not happy with, pop a spot on it. It's absolutely fantastic disguise. Now once you're done with the neck, you want to come up around the back of the head. Now once you've done the back of your giraffe's head, I just like to bring the spots just around his cheeks a little bit, so just around sort of the underside. And look, you can do as many or as few of these as you want. You can put a nice little patch over the eye of some of them to give them a little bit of character. If you want a few more spots because you've got a couple of mistakes you need to cover up, the great thing about a giraffe is that no two are the same, so it is totally open to your own interpretation. We're just going to let that dry and then we'll come back and paint the black detailing. Alright, so our little giraffe is looking something like this at the moment, all dry, and now we're just going to do these final details. So as I mentioned, I'm going to use black colour paste. Now with your black food colouring, you should mix a little bit of food colouring with a little bit of alcohol. So they do sell Cake Decorator's Rose Spirit, which is the alcohol that most cake decorators will use. Otherwise you can use just a tiny bit of vodka, and that's just going to help your black food colour dry a lot quicker. If you don't have access to alcohol or don't like using it in your cooking, then you can use black candy melts. Otherwise you can also use dark chocolate, and they won't be black, but they'll still be a nice dark feature. So I'm just using my toothpick here just to dab on a couple of nostrils for our giraffe. I might just balance him a little bit on the bench to give me a bit of a steadier hand. And then you want to put 2 nice eyes. Lovely. And then you want to take, just got a slightly finer paintbrush. You can also use that toothpick if you like, but it might be there for a little while. So my slightly finer paintbrush, I'm just going to paint around the top of our giraffe's horns. This cake pop is a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. If you've got a little jungle lover or safari themed occasion, whoever is the receiver of these is going to be absolutely wowed. So there you have your gorgeous giraffe cake pop, ready to go for your next safari party. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this tutorial as much as I've loved making it for you, and as always, thank you very much for tuning in.